Today's show is made possible by our friends Panda Sups. Focus, energy, pump. You're going to be able to get all that at pandasups.com. Use code CHAT at checkout. Be able to save 30%. What you see on screen right now is their pre-workout. It's why I'm so focused to do this Q&A right now. First question. What do we got, man? Mike Munoz. Who is left in the race for Clowney?
Titans, great question, right?
Titans, Raiders, Seahawks. Those are my top three.
Changes every day. Titans, Raiders, Seahawks?
Yep.
It might just be Titans, Seahawks. The market for Clowney is not very good for Clowney's perspective. The longer this goes on, the more I think that there's a very good chance he just ends up back in Seattle. So it's a weird market for him, man. It has not gone the way he thought it was going to at all.
Julian, you need to get a picture. What's up? What do the Patriots do now? And do we get Kenny Stills? So Kenny Stills is set to make $7 million from the Houston Texans. He has been linked in a lot of trade rumors. The Patriots obviously have had a lot of players that have opted out. We have jokingly
talk
said
about it
here that they are opting out for Trevor Lawrence.
Which is not really what's happening. Look, the Patriots, I think they might roll over most of this money. Which they've saved some salary cap space with players like Hightower and those guys opting out. I think they'll roll over most of it.
Okay.
Maybe they look at the linebacker market because they're really thin without Delainte Hightower now. Maybe they go after Kenny Stills. I wouldn't mind that one, but I think he'd have to take a pay cut. I don't think any team's going to pay him like $7 million. But the opt-outs for the Patriots, no NFL team has been hit harder than New England. They've lost 3 significant starters in Delainte Hightower, Marcus Cannon, and Patrick Chung, and then some other key potential rotation guys in Brandon Bolden and Danny Vitale. Najee Torin wasn't going to make the roster anyway, but that's 6 guys. That's a significant amount.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge chunk, and plus they're missing the guy that used to play quarterback for them last year. Next question here on NFL Daily. Make sure that you're using hashtag NFL, or you can super chat. Miri, should the Seahawks sign Clowney or Griffen? So how about this? We're going to ask you, if you were the Seattle Seahawks, would you rather sign Jadeveon Clowney, type JC, or would you rather sign Everson Griffen, type EG?
I still go aggressive because that's just how I'm wired, even though long-term it's not great. But short-term, I'm going to try and win. I'm going to go JC. I think he has familiarity with this team, with this organization.
Tom Johnson
and I think with the current awkward, I'm going to call it, training camp, you want to know someone who can roll in immediately and be actively involved. So for Seattle, I'd prefer Clowney, but if you want to go a little bit cheaper, I would be on board with Everson Griffen as well. But it would not be a bad choice.
If you're subscribed, I want you to start typing sub, and then we're going to start giving some shout-outs here. If you're not subscribed to our channel, hit that big red button below. We go live every Monday, Wednesday. We do live Q&As like you're watching now at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. So let us know if you're subbed. And I also saw a guy named Tom Johnson. Has there ever been a more common name? Tom, have you ever heard of somebody else that had the same name as you? Mr. Johnson. Literally, if you think about chat sports, the name Tom Johnson, think about what we say for Tom and then Johnson.
Okay. Why do you always have to make it dirty?
Because that's where my mind goes. So Toby Gorman, we got Reverse Flash. Jacob, what's up, man? Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, Chill Will. We got, and then who else? Urio Comrade, Commandment.
There you go.
Jake Wall 25.
You tried.
I tried. Can't read. Type sub, SUB. Griffin Ellis, what XFL players have the best chance to make an NFL roster?
P.J. Walker as a backup quarterback in Carolina.
Is he better than Will Grier?
He might be.
He might be. I was also going to say P.J. Walker. I think he's realistically the only player that has the best chance.
Look, the same thing happened with the AAF. Everyone's like, oh, we should sign this AAF guy. Look how good he looks. Yeah, he's playing against a bunch of group of 5 college players. So there are going to be a couple ones who look pretty darn good. The reality is, in most cases, there are probably going to be some exceptions.
Sure.
But in most cases, the players who end up in the XFL end up there because they're not good enough. Like, that's the issue. But for Carolina, you could go 3 quarterbacks. Kerry Bridgewater, Grier, and Walker. Walker is a Matt Rule guy. I think he has the best shot.
Jacob, what's up, brother? Will the Bosa deal impact Yannick Ngakoue? Maybe in the future.
Well,
I mean, Bosa, first off, got 5 years, $135 million, 102 of which has been guaranteed. It is the biggest contract for defensive player in NFL history.
It probably does. At the same time, Yannick, I don't think, was asking for Garrett or Bosa money. Like, I don't think his asking price was quite that high. I don't think it's going to jump above it, but whatever Yannick was asking for beforehand, he ain't going to change his mind now. So I think for the most part, we would agree that Yannick isn't quite as good as Bosa or Garrett. We also know that for the most part, the most recent guy gets paid more. I don't think he'd surpass $27 million, but he could ask for 24 now.
I got a question. Who's going to be the next player that breaks Joey Bosa's contract?
The other Bosa?
Okay. That's where I was going to go. I think it's going to be Bosa.
He has a little bit longer, but that could be one.
Troy Daniels, what's up, my man? Does the NFL have a plan in place for the teams that may have issues like the Florida Marlins did?
Clearly, the Marlins plan wasn't very good. The NFL has plans. They've left it up to each of the individual teams. They had to fill out more or less their emergency response plan. You'll see different setups for individual teams.
Yep.
It's going to be tricky. This is a contact sport. Like,
yeah.
If it spreads, it spreads. You'll be able to maybe mitigate it, and hopefully you don't have a situation like for the Marlins where, like, a quarter of the team or maybe a half the team ended up getting it. Like,
yeah,
there's a plan, but they don't want to. They don't want to
12?
have the nightmare scenario.
Yeah, not good.
It's not good.
All right, Will, you need to chill. Will Edwards-Helaire be a top 10 running back?
I'm picking. This is a fantasy question. Mitch.
If it's a fantasy question, it would not surprise me whatsoever if he was. He's on the best offense or a top 3 offense in the NFL. You could see him probably get 250 touches, I would say, this year. Probably around 1,100, 1,200 total yards, 10 touchdowns. That probably makes him a top 10 running back.
If, as a Clyde Edwards-Helaire Dynasty fantasy owner, I am choosing to answer this question with no bias whatsoever. I'm going to type in yes.
So I think your question was around fantasy football. So we're going to ask you, do you play fantasy football? 1 for yes or 2 for no. I saw fantasy football on screen. I think I got excited and I lost my words.
So, of course I play fantasy football.
We have a lot of people type in 1 for yes. Jake Wall, 25.
So.
Reverse Flash says 1. John, 1. I am seeing some 2s in there.
Okay.
Jacob doesn't. That actually kind of surprised me. What was the first year you started playing fantasy football?
I was a very young child. I couldn't have been more than 10.
For me, I know it was 2006. That was my very, very first year playing fantasy football. Took Tiki Barber as my first pick.
How'd that turn out for you?
I couldn't even tell you. I don't remember that. I just remember the first pick and the first year I played.
I remember my first championship was because I traded. This is because I was the commissioner of this league.
Keep typing 1 or 2.
And I changed all the rules just on my own because I'm like, well, wait a minute. If the receivers get catches, why don't the quarterbacks get points for completing passes or attempting them? And I ended up making this a point-per-pass attempt league. And it was wild. It was so much fun, and I won. Brett Favre won the league for me because he had like 500 attempts. It was great.
Jake Wall, 25. Should the Ravens sign Delaine Walker or Jordan Reed as a third-string tight end?
Maybe.
Why?
The issue here is the injuries, right? Like, and it also doubles up if you're worried about injuries for your starters. But clearly there is a role for Tim Boyle. Clearly there is a role for Mark Andrews.
Yep.
Do you want to maybe make Jacob Breeland that third tight end? If you feel like you need 3, which I don't think the Ravens do. I don't think so. I'd pass, and I'd go cheaper.
They're both, I would say, pass-catching tight ends. Delaney can block a little bit better. The Ravens want to run the football, and I'm not bringing in a third-string tight end who doesn't really fit my mantra of being able to run the football with all the injury concerns, so I'm going to respectfully decline. Toby, what's up, Toby? Is Josh Allen underrated, had a better season than Nick Bosa? So I'm guessing he's probably talking about the defensive end.
Yes, he's talking about the defensive end.
I was like, Josh, I was going like NFL top 100 because of the rankings. But so Josh Allen for the Jacksonville Jaguars was selected after he had a better season than Nick Bosa. I'm actually going to disagree.
He had more sacks than Nick Bosa.
Sure.
Bosa had more tackles for loss.
He made a bigger impact.
One day I will convince every single Chat Sports viewer to not just determine impact from a pass rusher by sacks. Sacks are very inconsistent. They tend to ebb and flow. If you're facing a bad quarterback, he's going to take more sacks. That's how things often end up happening. Bosa created more pressure. Pressure's a little bit more consistent. Now, I do think Josh Allen is a little bit underrated, but I do still think Bosa's a better player. I'm a big fan of Allen.
Very, very important question here. Would you drink Panda's blood? Give me a Y for yes, or would you give me an N for no? So Panda's blood, Tom, would you drink it?
It's on actual panda blood?
Panda's blood, yes. If I put it in a cup, would you drink it?
No, that's blood from an animal. Why would I drink that?
Oh, I hope every single person is typing their Y for yes, because Panda's blood is actually my favorite kind of pre-workout from Panda Sups. And if you need some pre-workout, go to pandasups.com, use code chat, be able to save 30% off. So yes, this is the flavor. It is known as Panda's blood. It tastes a little bit like fruit punch. Or if you don't,
I'm in on that then.
If you don't want to drink Panda's blood, they also have blue raspberry, which is actually also a very, very good flavor.
My preferred flavor.
Bottom line is this: if you need a little extra motivation in the gym, go to pandasups.com. It's in the comments. It's in the description. Use code chat at checkout to be able to save 30%. All right, next question here on NFL Daily. Make sure that you're using hashtag NFL. What NFC West team made the biggest jump this year?
I think it's Arizona. Now I might change pausing here because of the Jamal Adams trade, but I don't want to overlook how impactful that DeAndre Hopkins trade was. I'm still going to go Arizona, then Seattle, much closer than what they were, a year ago.
I'm going to say that maybe the Cardinals made a bigger jump, but when I see the word, I'm thinking like impact, okay? The biggest impact to me is the Seattle Seahawks, because for me, they go from the second best team in the West to now the best team in the West, and I actually think maybe the best team in the NFC. I really do. I think the Jamal Adams trade is going to help that defense that much. Last question here from John. Are you a Texas fan? Are they back? Let us know. Should Dallas trade a seventh-round pick?
The answer is yes, by the way.
Should Dallas trade a seventh-round pick to Seattle for one of their backup tight ends, preferably Hollister? So it's also Will Dissler.
I actually would prefer not Hollister.
Okay.
Because of the cap implications. Hollister costs you $3 million. I don't know if I want to pay that for my number 2 tight end. Now, if I can get Will Dissler for a 7th-round pick, injuries, of course, a factor there, I actually would do that. I don't think Seattle would trade Dissler for a 7th-round pick right now.